And welcome to PenFed Credit Union headquarters in Tysons, Virginia. I'm Andrea McCarron with PenFed's digital team. Thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation about winning the war for talent. I want to introduce you to my colleague, Charlie Miles, who is PenFed's Director of Military Employment Programs. Charlie.
Thank you, Andrea. Today we're going to be talking about why you should be recruiting from the military community, some of the obstacles and challenges involved with that effort, and how to do it.
So let's get straight to it. Why hire from the military community, whether transitioning service members, veterans, or military spouses or family members? Let's start with you, sir. First, introduce yourself and your organization.
Sure. Thanks, Andrea. I'm Gary Patton. I'm the Vice President for Military and Veterans Affairs at CACI. CACI, we provide mission and enterprise solutions for our national security clients. We're a federal contractor, and so we're providing those solutions to our government clients in the national security space.
In a nutshell, what do you and the other leaders in the military employment space in this room right now understand about hiring military that maybe the rest of the world doesn't yet?
Well, at CACI, we've been hiring veterans since 1962, so it's really part of our DNA. And why is that? Well, because hiring veterans just makes good sense for us. It's a win-win. It's a win for the veteran because it provides him or her a terrific career opportunity, and it's a win for our company because we gain the leadership, the work ethic, the discipline, the training, the skill sets, the security clearances, in our case, as important as a federal contractor, and in many cases, the mission familiarity that the veterans bring from their time in the service to our company, to our client, and helping them accomplish their mission. So it truly is a win-win bringing veterans into our company at CACI.
And thank you for leading the way since 1962. Really impressive. I'm going to ask all of you in a little bit if you have jobs pending at the moment, jobs available. Anything else to add to that? What is it about, give us anecdotes, what is it about hiring in the military space that has been so successful for you?
Well, the candidates that we get are reliable, hardworking, they know how to complete a mission, and most employers want that.
I think the unsung heroes in many cases are the military spouses. Yes. Do you hire military spouses? What has been your experience with them? And also give us your name and your organization, please.
My name's Cammie Ashley with Prism Inc. We've had a strong focus on the employment of veterans. We have 30% of our employees are veterans. And a big initiative has been in the last 2 years is for spouses and their families as well. So that's something that we're working on.
Spouses have to move a lot. They have superb organizational skills. What else are you seeing with spouses that they bring to the table?
They can move around at a dime. They can make decisions. They're used to their lives being upended and being able to deal with that. So it's, you know, if you need someone who's calm under pressure, I think that would be your person.
Calm under pressure.
And Andrea, I would just like to add a little bit to
Sure.
that. So just big picture, every year 200,000 service members transition from the military, and there's over 600,000 active duty military spouses out there. And on a whole, studies have shown that our military community members have more education, more experience, are more productive, promote at faster rates, and attrite at lower rates. So they simply make great employees for corporations.
Do we need to have a cultural shift nationwide to get employers, CEOs, hiring managers to understand the value that the military community brings?
Ken Lyles from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Virginia Department of Veteran Services, and also the V3 Program Manager. I think it just makes good business sense, and it's the right thing to do, and it actually increases organizational productivity and efficiency as well. I think coming from a Commonwealth perspective, what I tell the employers that I go to, about 384 in the Northern Virginia area, PenFed Credit Union being one of them, what I will tell them is that, and we've had this discussion before, is that maybe flip it on its head. Educate the actual leaders of those recruiting teams to think about how you're looking for talent. Maybe think about different sourcing tools as far as using the keyword Boolean search veteran and things of that nature, and even going as far as shifting to MOSs, searching for those as well. And so
For those in the civilian community?
Absolutely, yes.
MOS is?
Yes, the military occupational school. So
Is that part of the problem? Do you think people in the military community, those of you who are in a hiring position, use those acronyms that the civilian world does not understand?
absolutely, myself being a former Marine, it just kind of turns on. I don't even notice the acronyms that I'm using. So yes, absolutely.
All right. And what are your thoughts on that, and your name and your organization, please?
My name's Carol Kornman, and I'm with Prism Incorporated as well. We provide IT subcontracting services to mission-critical programs. The majority of our work is in the Northern Virginia area, and I believe that every organization understands that there's a war for talent, especially IT talent.
Right.
There's a 2.5% unemployment rate right now.
Wow.
So I believe that most high-level executives understand the need for talent, and in fact, they have many programs, even through colleges, even workforce programs that they're going into high schools to help develop people coming out into STEM programs. So if they're not using the military resources right now, they're really missing out, because these are people, many of them, who already have clearances. As Cammie mentioned, they are used to flexibility, they do well under pressure, they take direction well, and if they're not utilizing these tools right now, I really feel that they're at a disadvantage for their future growth.
I think everyone in this room would disagree. Would agree rather. What is the disconnect? Why isn't everybody just racing to hire from the military community? Any thoughts?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Guevara from Nestle, and I think people know us, the largest food and beverage company in the world. But to answer your question, I think that, I feel like there is a disconnect. Sometimes people don't know how to adapt their job descriptions, the requirements of the job. A lot of times people just are on the go and they constantly refresh a job description, maybe change it a little bit, but sometimes they don't reject some of the things that they don't really need. And remember that this, as you were saying, the labor market is tight. Many jobs today just don't have the amount of people in the workforce to do them available. So we are forced to start looking at creating talent where we haven't in the past. What are these untapped talent pools? And the military is certainly, military and military spouses is a key one that we focus on at Nestle. We know that the skills that they bring are those super skills that if you look at many studies, these are the things that people look for. The top skills that some people aren't coming out of high schools and colleges with are already innate in the military, and they bring that directly to the table.
I have two questions for you. One is, you mentioned that the onus is on the corporate world to change the wording in the job description. Is it the hiring managers that should be changing the wording, or is it really the resumes that need to be tweaked for members of the military? I know Penn Fed, Charlie Miles and our colleague Miranda Jones work really hard with veterans, transitioning service members, military spouses, to help them tweak their resumes so they make sense for hiring managers.
It's a little bit of both, for sure. I think that before you get to looking at resumes, recruiters always have what they call an intake process when a job is opened. And at that point, they have to challenge hiring managers to really dig deep into what those requirements are and see if something is really required or if it's just a nice to have. And then that is where you start to trigger the conversation to introduce, well, here's a great military resume that I have, and let me tell you why they may be a good fit for this job, and try to change their mind so that you can help them to condition that job description the way it needs to be from the very beginning.
And my other question for you, and I apologize for spending so much time here, but does Nestle have a training program very specific to transitioning service members, or does anybody have something like that in place to help them make the move into corporate America?
We have recently, over the past year, started our own employee engagement group. Others call them VRGs, ERGs, and we are starting to leverage our own veterans to help with that process. I wouldn't say we have a formalized training program in place for that today.
All right, thank you. And anybody else have comments on that? We also want to get to questions from our audience.
And Andrea, actually, I just wanted to weigh in. There were a couple great comments that I wanted to address. Right now, despite nearly record low veteran unemployment, it's around 3.2% right now as of September. Actually, 1/3 of veterans are reported to be underemployed. And when you talk about military spouse unemployment, they're sitting about 25%, and their underemployment is close to 60%. So clearly, America is not fully leveraging this great talent pool that we have. We've talked about some of the qualities, that make them great employees. They have skills, experience, training. These are all things that employers are looking for, but America just, I don't think understands that. And I believe America really values and appreciates the service of those that wear the cloth of our nation, but they just don't really understand how their skills and experience translate to their opportunities in corporate America. So, like you said, it's a little bit of both. It's the service member translating those skills and experience to make it understandable to corporate America. And I think you also have to educate corporate America, those hiring managers, those recruiters, on how that military, those military skills and experience can translate to their positions.
Great. And your thoughts?
So Charlie brings up some great points. First of all, my name is Rick Ferry. I'm a veteran advocate, and I serve with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce on their Veteran and Military Business Council. Charlie brings up some great points that veterans bring great qualities to the workplace, but we also identified some of the constraints that hiring managers have in identifying the skill sets as they apply to civilian careers. Available to every company is the greatest try before you buy opportunity through either the Virginia Chamber of Commerce and the Department of Veteran Services Hire Vets Now Fellowship Program, or the Hiring Our Heroes Program through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Both avenues allow for transitioning service members to participate in workforce experiences while they're still on active duty in their last 6 months of employment, and then...
I think that's like a hidden treasure. These two programs, and I just became aware of the Skill Bridge program, is that
That's the same one.
Yeah. That oversees all of these types of programs.
I have some thoughts on that. One is I was absolutely blown away by the resumes we saw, and I wondered if people were overqualified. We thought, okay, they have an MBA, they have multiple master's degrees, engineering degrees. Will they be happy working with our team? So that was a genuine concern, but the resumes have been incredible. How do people who see this get in touch with these programs? Is it open to any corporation? Is this regional? Can you answer that?
Sure. Within the state of Virginia, they would contact the Virginia Department of Veteran Services, their V3 regional manager, for information from that lane. That's the Hire Vets Now. Through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they would contact the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Hiring Our Heroes program, and there are regional coordinators across the United States as well.
And if you'll pause for a moment, we're going to put that online for anybody with interest in contacting either program. Sure. And I cut you off. Did you have anything else to add on that?
I just think that they're great programs and give both the employee the opportunity to experience the corporate culture and the company the opportunity to experience the full value of the employee, while the Department of Defense is paying their salary and benefits during that 12-week period of time.
It's such a win-win kind of program, and there is that expectation that if things work out, they will get employment, but it's not mandatory.
That's correct. That's correct. There's no requirement on either side. There's no contract for full employment at the end of the day, but the intent is there that there's an interview with the intent to hire at the end of the program if it's successfully completed.
I think another hurdle that I've witnessed here at Penn Fed is we're a financial institution, but there are jobs outside of the financial sphere here, HR, IT. Can you give us a sense of the breadth of the available jobs in a lot of the private sector?
Sure. So every industry has a primary delivery and then the supporting components that whether it's healthcare and Inova Health Systems, and they have a finance and a IT and a security and the other departments. Well, the military's the same way. Sure, every Marine's a rifleman, right? That's the old adage. However, they have HR and they have IT and they have the supporting services. And so we really just need to change our way of thinking about this as they're coming from the largest corporation in the United States.
And Andrea, I would just add that 85% of the jobs in the military have a direct corporate or civilian equivalent. And even those that don't, the soft skills and experience that those infantrymen and artillerymen and pilots have are really transferable to a wide variety of jobs in the corporate world. And I think before we move on, I saw Elizabeth, did you have something to add? I thought you were raising your hand there.
And before we get to Elizabeth, I just want to welcome once again our global audience on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us, along with leaders in the military employment space. We are live at PenFed Credit Union headquarters in Tysons, Virginia. I'm Andrea McCarran with PenFed Digital. I'm joined by Charlie Miles, who is the director of PenFed's military employment programs. We're going to get to your questions in just a moment, but first we have Elizabeth from Nestle, who has a comment.
I just wanted to make one more comment about SkillBridge, and that there are a number of ways that you can leverage it. One is also just looking at other partners out there, even industry partners who are leveraging the SkillBridge program to develop training programs, sometimes on base. The Manufacturing Institute is a good example, and they've been a wonderful partner for us. They have about a 9 to 10 week program where they bring transitioning veterans and military spouses into their programs at specific bases to train them on skills such as production technician certification, mechatronics, and the list is going to continue to grow. And that's been a great pipeline for us to find talent as well. So even if we don't bring them in for that 3-month, 4-month fellowship directly from that program, because you can't double dip in the SkillBridge, then you can still find other partners. So.
Really, really great point. We're going to get to you in just a moment, but I want to turn it over to our colleague Julie Myers from PenFed Digital. She and our colleague Shauna McNally are monitoring your comments and feedback. And Julie, hopefully you're able to keep up with the pace here and give some of the website links so people can get more information. What are you hearing online?
So I actually had a question come in earlier. It's from Jessica in San Antonio, Texas. She asked, my organization is very small. How do I get my organization to create a military hiring program that is impactful to us, even though they aren't a large organization?
What a great question. Did everybody hear that? Somebody wants to know, even within a small organization, how to create a military hiring program. If you could please give me your name again and organization.
Carol Kornman with Prism, and we are a small certified business. We've been in business for 25 years, but our program started 5 years ago when I decided my father was in the military. We should have a program because we have jobs, and we have open jobs now for people. But we're small. So I had an intern working for our organization from UVA, and we sat down and put together a mission statement. We put together our tagline, from deployment to employment. She created our mission and our logo, and we started from there. From there, I had a recruiter within our organization, Ryan Eden, who's sitting behind me, and I could tell that he was passionate about the program and helping veterans. And so he became my program manager, and we sat down and came up with a simple business plan of where we wanted to be, how many veterans we wanted to hire within the course of the year, and started developing it from there.
Fantastic. And Ryan, since she named you, gave you the shout out, tell us about things you know now that you wish you knew then, that you could help people like Jessica in San Antonio create a military employment program.
Sure. I think the easiest way is boots on the ground. Get onto the bases, find where the talent is, and start creating the relationships with the transition assistance offices that are on bases local to you, and grow it from there. And then as you evolve, there are multiple resources that are out there that you can utilize that can help your company grow that program and really help you.
So it doesn't need to be that labor intensive.
No, it's really, starts from how much work you put into it, and you'll get the results back from it.
Somebody watching this right now may wonder, okay, how do I get started with this today? Is there a framework? Is there an outline? Some kind of prototype that people can see? I guess they can look at Prism.
We just contacted directly to the bases and found out there were a lot of local groups here with the Virginia Values Veterans, MVTC, a lot of chamber groups that are out there, and we found who that support was and really started a network from there, and go to different job fairs and really grow from there.
Rod, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I'm Roderick Williams with Northern Virginia Technical Council, and we're basically a facilitator for military spouses and veterans. So like Ryan said, the best way to get into the veteran community is find veteran organizations and networking, or use a hashtag on LinkedIn, Twitter, and just hashtag military service organizations or veteran service organizations, and that will be your gateway into bases and organizations that can help you get into bases.
What a great idea, just starting connecting with people on LinkedIn. I want to give a shout out to my colleague Charlie Miles, who's one of the most accessible, responsive people on LinkedIn, next to our CEO James Skank, who is here as well. Follow both of them on LinkedIn. Charlie.
And Andrea, I would just like to go ahead and wrap up the why. You should be recruiting from the military community and start transitioning over to the obstacles and challenges. But to wrap it up, let me just kind of summarize a lot of the reasons that any organization, but we at PenFed do it. One, the competition for talent. You know, we're talking about the war for talent out there. There's definitely a gap between the number of job seekers available and the number of jobs that we have to fill out there. You know, we talked about a lot of the, you know, the qualities that those service members bring to the table. Look at their responsibilities too. They're really just an order of magnitude greater, you know, than the responsibilities that their civilian counterparts have experienced. They're making life and death decisions out there every single day. It's a TA best practice. The top companies in the country have military employment programs out there. So if they see value in it, I'm sure that you can see value in it for your organization. You know, we talked about increased competitiveness. There are studies that show that you know, veterans are very productive, more productive on average than their counterparts. Obviously, they have the relevant skills and experience that we're looking for. Lower employment cost. Veterans come with a trail of benefits that help you lower your cost to bring on board as well as to retain.
Now, is it just anecdotally that I feel like military spouses now have a much harder time getting employment? I know based on the number of resumes. Has anybody experienced that? Any tips? You mentioned, Rod, that you facilitate military spouses and transitioning service members. Anybody else have tips for, you know, why hiring managers should be looking at that population?
So again, Rick Ferry with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce Veterans Military Business Council. When you first get a veteran resume, that's one thing. When you get a military spouse resume, you might see holes in their or gaps in their employment. And I really challenge the hiring manager to look past those gaps and to see the quality and the content and the tenacity to continue to pick up where they left off. The other thing is they might have diversity in their background, and the value add from that is that they've gotten a holistic, broad skill set that somebody else who's been in the same stovepipe their entire career may not have.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. We were just looking at resumes, and that was one of the first questions. There was, you know, a gap of many years, and maybe somebody's having children, maybe somebody's managing moves to support their service member spouse.
Yeah, as a sixth-generation veteran, where every member of my family's been in the military, this really resonates. And I'll take my sister-in-law, for example. As she stood by my brother through career move to career move with a master's degree, sometimes she would be in a remote location where the only job to get was to be the attendant at a dry cleaner. And so, you know, how do you evaluate that, and how do you look through that, you know, so you pick up the good pieces, the customer service skills, the accounting, the general management that she would have had at that location. What we have found, though, is provided, and technology now allows more and more of this, that given the opportunity, the military spouse will actually be a much more loyal employee to the organization. So retention is higher if the opportunity is there to continue their career beyond a physical location. And in today's technology and business landscape, teleworking is a very viable opportunity and career path.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the obstacles, let me share a couple of the obstacles I experienced during my transition. I was told I didn't have any relevant experience because I was a pilot and I wasn't looking for pilot positions out in the civilian world. I wasn't necessarily told, but I think that there was the misperception that you only join the military because you don't have any other options. So, you don't have top-tier talent coming out of the military necessarily. A lot of people don't understand that, we're highly educated as well. They don't understand that, for example, you have to have a degree to be an officer. They don't understand that many of our enlisted personnel have degrees as well, and the military pays for that. And when you come out of the military, you have a GI Bill, so you can go back and pursue your education. So let's talk about some of those obstacles.
What obstacles have you seen? How have you overcome them? Again, this is a solution-based discussion.
Yeah, so I'm with Gary Patton with CACI, and just to take off on some of the things Charlie said, obstacle-wise, we talked about hiring veterans in the outset, but it's also important to retain them, we are overcoming maybe just lack of information and lack of experience on the side of hiring managers and dealing with veterans. And so we found in our company it's really important to have internal training programs to familiarize our recruiters and talent acquisition professionals with everything we're saying here today about the value of veterans, the value of military spouse hiring. We have mandatory training in our company for hiring managers. We have mandatory training in our company for human resource managers and professionals, because it's equally important for them to know the values of the veterans and the military spouses, the benefits and their backgrounds and so forth. So these are mandatory training courses we have in our company for hiring managers, human resources, and talent acquisition professionals. In terms of obstacles, one of the obstacles we see, we're a fairly technical company. We provide intelligence and information system solutions for national security clients. So we're looking for people with security clearances and some degree of technical skills in cybersecurity, intelligence, IT, and those sorts of things. And what you see is the challenges some of our veterans face is they may be making a career change. They've come out of the Marine Corps as a pilot, or out of the Army as a vehicle mechanic, or out of the Air Force as a systems maintainer, airplane maintainer, and they want to make a career change to be a cybersecurity professional or specialist or some other area like that. And in that case, they lack that experience in uniform, but they can get that experience in transition programs and boot camps that are out there run by companies like Microsoft has an academy just for student veterans where they train them on a range of information system skills. Hire Heroes USA runs a set of boot camps around the country for veterans. So I always encourage the transitioning service members who are looking to make a career change because they're following their passion as they get out of the military to look into these experiences where they can add to their skill set and gain more technical experience that makes them more competitive in a technical job market.
Gary, a lot of great points there, and I want to turn it back to Julie Myers, Miranda Jones, Shauna McNally, who have been monitoring questions coming in live from around the country on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Julie.
Yes, so we had a question come through on LinkedIn from Leo, who works over at USAA. He said, what are organizations doing to assist veteran employees suffering from PTSD?
Oh, what a great question. Anyone want to field that question? And Amy Stark, who is one of our top leaders in human resources, I know she's not sitting here, nor is our CEO, James Skank, wanting to be on camera, but I just think that's something really important to address what Penn Fed does. And Amy Stark.
So resources that we have available to all our employees, but particularly for our military community, would include our employee, our EAP program.
Employee Assistance Program.
Exactly, thank you, acronym. And access, of course, through our benefits that we offer that include mental health counseling and that kind of thing. So in addition, educating others in the organization. I think that goes back to educating your workforce about what it means when you employ individuals out of the military.
I do want to include James Skank, our president and CEO, because PenFed, my experience here is PenFed really does take perfect care of its employees. It's been a wonderful experience for our team. And James, if you could address that question.
Like I say, our employees love to take perfect care of our veterans and the military community at whole. So here at PenFed, we have 6 service dogs in training. So for 18 months, we have employees who volunteer to raise a service dog. They go through about 18 months of back and forth to work, exposed to many different situations, and then they'll go back to the organization and learn about 43 tasks, and they'll go to a veteran with a disability. So all corporations can help in a different way to help service members with PTSD or other disabilities or physical challenges. PenFed tries to lead from the front by employees literally volunteering to give back to all the communities in which we serve. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, PenFed really emphasizes community service, and that's in all different forms. We're really proud of that. Thank you both. Anyone else want to take that question? Here you
Again, Rick Ferry, veteran advocate, and this time I'll speak as a board member from the Serve Our Willing Warrior organization, an organization which PenFed supports. I think that what's important for companies is to know the resources that are available in the community that you can partner with or align with in order to make intelligent decisions. Here in Virginia, we have the Virginia Department of Veterans Services and the Military Family Services Program there. We have a variety of different resources in the community, and I know that the Chamber of Commerce identifies them locally to help stewards provide support in the sea of goodwill.
Very
Yeah,
good.
companies don't have to do it themselves. Like I mentioned, veterans come with a tale of benefits. There's the Veterans Administration, the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. There's many veteran service organizations out there. There's many tools and resources that you can leverage rather than having to reinvent the wheel and provide those services for your veteran employees. So
And we're
take
only
advantage
through
of them.
2 of the topics, and we've
Yes.
already hit the 30-minute mark. So I'm going to abbreviate some of your answers, please, and get back to our audience questions as they come in. Just flag me down. There are a couple of hands raised on that topic. I'll be right there.
Hi, Elizabeth from Nestle. This is a very important topic. Just last week, we were actually among a number of companies that signed a pledge for mental wellness in the workplace, and we're very proud about doing that. Like mentioned earlier, there's employee assistance programs and all sorts of education. We actually were able to leverage a free tool from PsychArmor, which has a number of different training modules that are available for anyone to access, but we actually worked with them to implement it into our training platform online.
And we should say PsychArmor is free.
Yes, yes. So, and they will work with you to bring that curriculum into your own training systems as well. So we did that. In addition, there are a number of things that we do to institute mental wellness by, like, we have meditation spaces. We have sometimes little pop-up sessions for meditation and other things like that.
Fantastic. There was another hand back here. But James, I want to ask you about that pledge that was 30 CEOs signed this pledge this past week. It's really important, and it goes straight to the notion of taking care of veterans with PTSD.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges in the America today is suicide. And so PenFed, along with 30 other Fortune 50 companies, we got together at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce through the Hiring Our Heroes program and their foundation in conjunction with the VA and the Undersecretary of Defense to sign a pledge that all CEOs would bring this challenge and opportunities and how to address it to their employees. And so we're looking forward to working with the Department of Veterans Affairs and Department of Defense to make sure all 2,700 of our employees understand how to identify potential risk factors, how to mitigate them, and how to be a true advocate to connect with others to prevent suicide. It's over 20 a day, and it's unacceptable here in America, in the greatest nation in the world.
Absolutely. Charlie.
Did we have one more comment?
And then we'll go to topic 3.
We'll go to topic 3, you bet.
No, this is a really important subject. We're talking about obstacles to hiring veterans, and I'm a veteran. Spent 35 years in the Army, 4 years in combat. I suffered PTSD. Okay, and so the thing I want to say is that among all the other values that we've mentioned here today about veterans is they also are very resilient.
Yes.
And so there are resources out there that everybody's mentioned. But at the end of the day, our veterans are resilient and they're hardworking, and they're definitely worth bringing into the workforce. and for all those reasons. But resiliency is very key. And then once they're in the company, I mean, look at things like establishing a Veterans Employee Resource Group, because one of the things that helped me recover from PTSD was human contact. So where do you find human contact? I mean, a company with fellow veterans. So we have a Veterans Employee Resource Group. We do something maybe 1 or 2 times every month or so where we contribute to the community. We've done things at homeless shelters for veterans. And we laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on Veterans Day. I mean, that's what veterans do. We pay it forward, we pay it backward, and again, that sort of that group togetherness, I think, also feeds and helps the resiliency for our veterans and the integration of the workforce.
What a great idea. And PTSD often leads to isolation, and being part of a community and being engaged is really critical. Where do we go from here?
Well,
Charlie will
thank
bring
you,
us the
Gary.
last topic,
Fantastic
but then
points.
I'm going to ask, before we wrap, I want to ask all of you whether you have jobs currently available, and give us your website or place, and we'll put it online for our audience. Charlie.
Well, now we want to talk about the how. We had a question that was alluding to that. So let's start by asking, what are the top 1 or 2 things that you would recommend to a company that's not currently in the military employment space to get into that space? What would you recommend that they do to get started?
And that's a question I get out in the field very often. Oh, I'd love to hire military, but how do I do it? If I put a job posting, I'm not getting any responses. I was going to do a quick lightning round and go right down the line for everybody. Just give me a couple of thoughts that you have.
Sure. Ken with the Department of Veteran Services, and every certified company, actually, we give them a organizational veteran hiring plan Word document, and it is a nice block area with statements that you can go and you can check the boxes within your company, and that really speaks volumes to what you're trying to do.
Great idea.
Carol Kornman with Prism, and I'm just going to go back over to V3 because as a small business, we started with the V3 program, and they really helped us educate and walk us through how to start our program. So if you're local, that's a great resource for you.
If you're local, explain in a nutshell what V3 is and how somebody can access it.
We have over 1,000 companies in our program. And since 2012, our program has helped companies hire over 55,000 veterans in Virginia. If you are a company out of state and you have positions in Virginia, you still absolutely qualify. And thinking 1,000-yard stare for myself, I would love to duplicate my program and bring it nationwide.
Are there other states doing this kind of thing?
I can't speak to those other states, but I would love to. I'd be more than happy to spread the good word.
For all those other states that are watching this right now, I'm going to have you give the best way to get in touch with you, whether you're on LinkedIn or an email address or a website.
LinkedIn at Kenneth Lyles or dvsv3.com.
Thank you so much. Elizabeth.
I would echo things like the V3 program. There are also, yet again, trainings with Psych Armor that will be very supportive. There are playbooks available from the SHRM Foundation actually has put together a number of things. They also have instituted HR training for, it starts with HR, but it really is something that all hiring managers should consider doing as well.
You mentioned the SHRM Foundation. Can you spell it just for anybody who's going to look it up?
Sure, it's SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management.
All these acronyms in D.C. I'm going to come to the back row here, and I'll get back to the front row.
I say the first thing you should do is start from within the organization. Find what veterans are within your organization, and then go from there and say, hey, how can we use your network to bring our company veteran friendly?
Sometimes we don't all need to overthink this. Just go to the veterans in your company, ask for their contacts, ask for them to spread the job postings within their networks. Great idea.
There are a lot of free military job fairs that are out there that you can all attend throughout the nation. Hiring Our Heroes does it, MBTC, V3, everyone has them there. So I would say start there, and obviously just to echo the other folks as well. So.
Fantastic. Job fairs, great resources. Going to turn back to Amy Stark. And if you're interested in a job with PenFed, obviously connect with Charlie Miles, Director of Military Employment Programs. Go to penfed.org/careers. and connect with Amy Stark.
Thank you, Andrea. The question, sorry.
Well, really, where does somebody start? You know, where to go from here? From an HR perspective, you know, what do people need to know?
I think that you need to know what we've talked about today, honestly, is the value. Why do you need to do it? And I think we have to reemphasize to our hiring managers the value that these people bring and the fact that we're in such a tight labor market right now. And these are great, they're great talent.
That's why we call this live discussion Winning the War for Talent. But we're at the how. How do you, I know you're super active on LinkedIn and you're always posting jobs. I mean, we are hiring and we're looking to select the best and the brightest. Any other words of wisdom for the hiring managers around the country?
Sure. So we went out and found organizations where we could advertise our jobs to reach those military folks that we weren't reaching before. And it really wasn't difficult. Can I name names?
Sure, of course you can.
So with Monster, which is a great resource, they put their jobs out to, and Charlie's.
Military.com.
Thank you, military.com, which is one of the top job boards for finding military people. And it's pay-per-click. It's not expensive. It's a really easy way to push your jobs out there and pull in. So when you were saying earlier, I'm not getting resumes from people in the military, that is one of the #1 things we did to really start pushing our jobs out and pulling those folks in.
We are super proud of the number of veterans and military spouses and military family members we've hired. James or Charlie, do you want to give us a rundown?
Sure. So I'd say the first thing every corporation should do, whether it's a hiring manager or CEO, is set a goal. So when I became CEO about 5 years ago, we had 25 veterans. Now we have 200 out of our 2,500 person workforce. So I set a goal to at least reach the national average. So we're just under 10%. My current goal is to double the national average. So we're trying to get 1 in 5 or 20% of our employees to be veterans. And we hired Charlie and a team to tell the story, go out and seek them. But it doesn't happen unless you set a goal and actually focus on that goal. And we're moving in the right direction pretty aggressively.
Yeah, we've done really well. And Charlie, you even had higher numbers based on military family members.
Yeah, we're also counting or tracking our military spouses and military family members. So when you include those into the equation, we're at about 13.5% of all of our employees have a military affiliation.
Great. And last few responses, and then we're going to wrap.
So in addition to setting a goal, I mean, we're all in business, and so you have to determine the business need. And in our case, you know, we're looking for people with security clearances at CACI, intelligence and IT backgrounds and so forth. And so you determine the need, and then you determine where are those people found coming out of the military, and build a network to reach out to those populations. We spend exceptional amount of time with bases like Fort Meade, Maryland. Fort Meade, Maryland is the home of the Defense Information Systems Agency and some other intelligence agencies. Well, that's because, you know, it's a good source of transitioning service members coming from those organizations that can meet and help us meet the business needs in our business. And so it really begins with that, and then it's about building an outreach, a network for outreach for 3 populations. It's the veterans, the transitioning service members, and the military spouses, and they're 3 distinct populations that can be reached out in a number of different ways.
And what I keep hearing from all of you is going directly to these bases. I mean, you know the local military installations, and they have the population that's transitioning.
It's the basis for the transitioning service members, for sure, and the military spouses. But the veterans are approximate to the bases, but they're not on them. So you reach out to the veterans through the state and federal, local employment and veterans assistance organizations and that sort of thing, and also the veteran service organizations. So it's really a combination of all those to reach those 3 populations.
Really good point.
I would say that Ryan does go to a lot of the bases, with Prism behind me too, and we're able to find really quality candidates, but what we do is prioritize the veterans within our recruiting cycle and put them at a higher level of priority as far as placing them. And then we go to client sites, we talk about our veteran program, and I've yet to come across a client that doesn't feel something about that or feel like it's purposeful or it's meaningful and why they would want to partner with us to do that. And as far as companies getting into the program, I would think since, like Carol was saying 5 years ago, she put it together a plan, every company has to have a plan, but there are other companies that will be very supportive of you putting in that plan, whether it be CACI, whether it be PenFed, whether it be Prism Inc. You know, everyone wants to help other companies get into the program. So I think that just reach out to people or companies that you know from networking events that are involved.
Right, networking comes up an awful lot in this space. Final thoughts on this topic?
Great. So I'll echo, get executive buy-in. If have leadership support from the top, because if you don't have that, you're not going to get very far. Have a goal that's aligned with your business needs. Use the resources that are available to you. There are a lot of free resources. The Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor, rolled out a medallion program for recognizing programs that have substantive approach to hiring for veterans. They also have across the country local veteran employment representatives, and these are available at all the one-stops across the country. So this isn't a Virginia-specific thing. They're available nationwide. And then finally, engage your your current employees that you have in your organization. If you do those things, you're going to have a successful program.
I feel like the veteran military family side of things sort of knows where to go. I feel like it's corporate America that needs a visionary like our CEO, James Skank, who sets a goal, comes in determined to do something, and is lucky enough to have an HR guru like Amy Stark. But Charlie, your final thoughts.
Well, I'm just going to wrap it up, and you all stole my thunder pretty much by mentioning what I would tell another company. I would start with the CEO. I'd start with the top. We're very fortunate at PenFed to have a tremendous veteran advocate in our CEO and president, James Skank. Again, just like Rick said, start there. Leverage those free and low-cost military employment resources. Don't reinvent the wheel on your own. Take advantage of those. The Veteran Employment Initiative has U.S. Tech vets. There's thousands of veterans and military spouses that you can source from that site. So join that organization if you're here in the Northern Virginia region. Train your hiring managers and recruiters. Leverage those free resources to do so. Psych Armor that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. And finally, again, utilize the veterans in your organization. Incentivize them to refer other veterans to increase your pipeline of veterans coming into the company.
And I'm going to add to that, find civilians like me who have turned into veteran advocates. Military brat myself, but really am passionate about this space. So find people in your company who want to help, but may not know how to.
Absolutely.
And we want to thank all of you so much. Please go online and to either PenFed's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, primarily Facebook or LinkedIn. Feel free to put your contact information in the comments section so everyone who's joined us can learn more about your individual organizations and companies.
And feel free to utilize PenFed as a resource for your company. Reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can contact me through my email, which is charles.miles@penfed.org. And I'll be happy to share our best practices with you and help you get your Veteran Employment Initiative started. And
everything at PenFed is a collaborative effort. I just want to give a shout out to my colleagues who are making the technology possible for this. Chris Mullen, on camera back there. Brian Burdett, transitioning service member who just left the Marine Corps to join our team from Okinawa, hoorah. Shauna McNally, Julie Myers, Miranda Jones, who works closely with Charlie and is just incredible at working with
also a veteran
veterans.
Military spouse.
Both, veteran and military spouse, so she really knows how to help and is just brilliant. Andre Jones, who's been running the audio for all this, pinch hitter in just about everything, and John Moger. So thank you all in our audience, both here and virtually, for joining us. Please stay in touch.
Thank you so much.